about 4 miles north of the town of Rathmullan in the townland of Drumhalla, is the place where St. Gervan chose for his Christian mission in the year 650 AD. Together with a small band of fellow monks, he built a little church. From here they prayed and began to spread the fledgling Christian faith to this part of Donegal. In time the local parish would be named in St. Gervan's honour, and much later again the local primary school would be named in his memory also. Some 1200 years later, and just a short distance to the east of St. Gervan's community, was a small farmsteading, the property of William Tinney and his wife Rose, formerly Coyle of Bonneton Glenvar.
This here is the former home of Wally and Rosie Tinney in Bing. They had 4 boys, Johnny, Dan, Eddie and Paddy, and 4 girls, Catherine, Biddy, Annie and Hannah. Catherine was born on the 14th of October 1887. Ironically, she was to play a part in the spreading of the Christian message in a very practical way. The name Catherine was very common in this area, and likely because of the church in Arthur Lynch, which was dedicated to St. Catherine. So the Tinney family had a small holding, much like everyone else in the locality. Catherine, or Kate as she was better known, attended the local primary school in Carradone. She helped her mother in the home, did what she could on the farm, as was the way for people of that generation.
See, my father died, you see, in 1913, and his father come from the Red Bray in Rathmullan. And then the time of the dividing of the farms and the land and the rates come on, you see, the places was changed. But my grandfather then was sent down from the Red Bray to Killygarvan. And the people that were sent up from it was in Killygarvan at the time, they were sent up to Boland's. And they were the name of Lockhart.
On the 30th of October 1906, Kate, then aged 19, married Patrick McConalogue in St. Joseph's Church in Rathmullan and moved to live here in Killygarvan on a small farm about a mile from her previous home in Bing. Now this was a typical small single-storied, 2-roomed cottage, long since demolished, with outhouses either side, where Kate and Patrick started their married life. On the 11th of March 1911, Kate gave birth to their first child, Mary, our mother. She was christened Mary, but was better known to everyone as May. 2 years later, Kate gave birth to their second child, Rosine. Then shortly after Rosine was born, tragedy struck. Our father died suddenly, leaving Kate on her own with a 2-year-old and a baby to look after. The future must have looked bleak and daunting for Kate, who was still only 25 years old. But as history has proven, Kate was an exceptional person, and giving up or wallowing in self-pity was not something that was in her DNA. Shortly after the death of her husband, Kate made the decision to become a Jubilee nurse, or what is known today as a district nurse. This involved her moving to the Rotunda Hospital in Dublin for 6 months to complete her training. Now it was not possible for her to bring her children, May and Rosine, to Dublin, so she left them in the care of her sister and brothers in Bing for the duration of her training. Now, as far as we are aware, Kate did not see May or Rosine for the full 6 months, and it is difficult to imagine how she and they actually coped with that separation. Having successfully completed her training, Kate returned to Killygarvan and shortly afterwards was given her first, and as it subsequently transpired, her only posting in Glencolmcille in southwest Donegal.
The young family set off on the long journey to Glencolmcille in a pony and trap. The first leg of the trip was a 1.5 mile hike to Rathmullan Pier. We can only imagine the thoughts going through the young mother's mind, being posted 70 miles from home to a place where she most likely knew nothing about or anybody living there. Another challenge could have been the language. Glencolmcille would have been and still is a strong Gaelic speaking area, whereas Rathmullan was not. Having said that, Kate's mother Rose Coyle from Glenvar, an Irish speaking area as well, may well have instilled some of the native tongue in her children. Here they would have boarded a paddle steamer called the Lake of Shadows. Incidentally, some of Kate's neighbours worked as crewmen on this boat. After crossing the Swally to Fawn, they caught a train to Derry. Next they boarded a train from Derry that went through Strabane and Stranorlar. Then the train travelled through Barnesmore Gap in all its beauty and on to Donegal town. The final leg of the train journey brought the family to the fishing town of Killybegs.
On the road to Mallanmore, you can hear the ocean roar. I heard the skylarks sing their happy song.
The last leg of the journey to Mallanmore, a distance of 18 miles, was completed by hackney car, operated by the Rogers family, who also owned the nearby Bayview Hotel. This service used a pony and trap.
As she walked along, her face was fair and handsome, and her hair was neatly tied, and the golden coloured ribbons that she wore. Oh, she stole my heart away on that brand new summer's day, where I met her on the road to Mallanmore. On the road to Mallanmore, you can hear the ocean roar, where I met her on the road to Mallanmore. Sure, I travelled an eagle through its glens and mountains tall, and many's a fair colleen I have seen, but there's none that can compare with the colleen I met there, and I knew in all the world she was a queen.
The party would have arrived in Mallinmore tired and very weary after such a long day's travel. The nurse's house was in a beautiful setting, looking out on the Atlantic Ocean with the island of Rathmullan directly in view. Beyond Rathlin could be seen the outline of the hills of North County Mayo, something that would have reinforced in Kate's mind the feeling of just how far from home she and her children really were. The house still stands and is owned by Noel Carr and his wife Frances. Noel is a native of Carrick, while Frances was born and reared locally. The Carr family have tastefully renovated the building, ensuring that the character of the old nurse's home is maintained. The newly built primary school was just a few yards up the road, which was very convenient for the children.
When we were growing up, we knew this was the nurse's house, and it was kind of part of the history of the area when we were growing up, and we'd heard about Nurse McConalogue quite a bit. We didn't know all the dates and all that at that stage, but our parents would have told us about Nurse McConalogue. When we bought the property here, we bought the house next door first of all, and then in 1997 this house came up for sale. It was owned by a family called Watsons. They were an English family who used it as a holiday home, and they told me at the time that the house was built in 1790. I read Carmen Kavanagh when I was still in primary school, so I kind of knew the history of the whole area, you know, of that area of Jubilee Nurses and all that. So we bought the house in, as I said, 1997, and we added on a room to it. But when we were doing it up, we were sitting outside one day, outside the house, and my daughter was only 2 at the time, and we saw a car on the road, and Noel said, I wonder who's that? We could see somebody filming out the window or with a big camera, and it was Mary Huriski and her mother, May Deaney. Mary said, is this, you know, the mother was thinking this is the house that she lived in when she was small, and her mother was the nurse here. So we invited them up then, and we brought them in. May, her mother, recognised straight away a step out the back that she used to play on. And that step is still there, because when we were doing bits to the house, I thought, no, it'd be lovely to keep the step. And but I know if you see the side of the house here, that was the cart house, and she would have kept her cart in there, and she would have gone out in all sorts of weather out to houses all over Glen. But really and truly, she made a big she really sacrificed her own life in helping the people around here. And Tashi Jas, Sminu Ari Marvishi and Krogra, Agalama, agus a Kajuya Dini Nuravishi Dan Chen, agus email wash Hain, Margavi and Sladen and Shaw, agus vi Clan Geki, agus Kushima, Sania, and Nahan Amshire, agus Ahan sort Gui, agus Ahan Rod, agus Vishi and Kroger father, agus hug she a seal hain when you Nadini and Shaw, Sheelam, agus Shina Fager, what she cart Coven Yorhi, agus Radegan Yanu Dihi. And I keep a memoriam card on the window all the time, you know, and I'd often, when I'm in the house, I'd often think about her. We sort of kept things in the house, some of the things as they probably were. When people come in, we'd talk about her a lot. So there was a house called Boyle's house up the road, and she was very friendly with the son of the house. He was only maybe 18 at the time. But when she got sick then, I remember my father telling me, he heard this, that people were reluctant to visit, naturally, they were afraid, but he was the one person who would come down and help. He was Captain Eddie Boyle, he was called. He became a captain in the army afterwards. But I know there was another girl she used to go to school with called Monica Higgins, and they used to walk up to school together because she told me she would pick her up. She lived down the road, and she would pick up May on the way to school.
A large part of Kate's work would have been in Glencolmcille, which was on the other side of the hill, and going there would have involved travelling the old road known locally as Lehan, leading to Killanad. This road is still in use today. Glencolmcille in those days was like the rest of rural Ireland, made up of small family farms. Houses were small and very often with large families in them. The Jubilee Nursing scheme was set up in the 1880s, at the time of Queen Victoria's Jubilee celebration, hence the name. It began in England and soon spread to Ireland. This nursing scheme was not funded by the government. It relied on donations from well-to-do patrons, but also on money raised locally, such as garden fetes and concerts. Here we see examples of this in Carabla, Portsalon and Rathmullan. Door-to-door ticket selling was also undertaken as a means of fundraising. The nurse was supplied with a stylish uniform, a medical bag which was well stocked with equipment to deal with most situations the nurse might encounter on her rounds. A bicycle was also supplied for transport, and in the case of Nurse McConalogue, a pony and trap. It was known for nurses to have to go out to islands to attend patients, and in this situation a boat was put at the nurse's disposal. Disease was ever present in communities at that time. Ailments such as tuberculosis or TB, typhus, diphtheria, typhoid and polio had to be dealt with by the Jubilee nurse and her little bag of medical equipment. These nurses were well trained and provided a very valuable service throughout Ireland, but it has to be said that they seldom received the official recognition that was their due. Nurse McConalogue enjoyed her work, and her children settled very well in their new surroundings. May started the nearby school, and Rosine made her appearance there too. Years later both women would talk of the happy times they had growing up in Mallinmore. Kate kept in regular contact with her family in Rathmullan and further afield, as we can see from the letters that are in the possession of her granddaughter Mary Horsey. Life continued on as normal for over 3 years, and then the locality, and indeed the whole country, was hit by a deadly virus in the year 1918. The official name for the virus was H1N1, but locally called the Spanish flu, as it was thought that it originated in Spain. This virus was very contagious, which made containment extremely difficult. Obviously there was no treatment for it, other than to keep down the fever and ensure sufficient ventilation. The virus attacked young and old alike. Some patients fought long battles for life, while others succumbed in a matter of days. Nobody knew where the virus came from. Some thought injured sailors may have brought the virus in from other countries. Nurses themselves were very conscious of the dangers of spreading the disease, and also the grave danger of getting infected themselves. A sequence of events took place in Glencolmcille in the townland of Leahill in the winter of 1918. Nurse McConalogue attended the home of Billy and Anne Cunningham, where Anne was expecting twins. Kate was accompanied by a young Father Philip Boyle, who was a local curate and regularly attended patients with Nurse McConalogue.
Dwi fi mysio my fáiste chula bé go minic maithar agus le daoine eile den níos ag glóirt faoin flúmór agus hacu siad isteach go tí teach sogaide tar éis am afran ar an malach a bhile go tí a náte bhí de daoine seo na gcónaí leathal se harfa míle go lé as an caiisiil in Glencolmcille. Agus dwi fi cymóri og yn rhaid blianta sir Hannig sé chun tosaí go sáilir gur scéal ufasach brónach a bhíon agus go háirithe an dóid a bhí nirid sin daoine a fuir bás agus ní bhuair sé déon cuidú. An bhean bhó a bhí na cluisteal faoihí ná a Nurse McConalogue agus bhí sí gobar háart fan cheanta seo mar bhhailtre bás a Rathmullan daí agus bhí commórú a gneoirtí rins blianta siar ag bhín obair a líge rinne sí. Ach an rud a déis meise leis agus bé me fáiste ná bhí me ahar bhí sé bliana daois ag an am. Bhain 3 bliana daois ag an am. Agus a dheirifar me ahar taobh bhí ar do bhulaí agus a dheirifar min sin má antanis tá chlán aici a mí Philadelphia ar chuid is bóga. Agus dearthar eile lefa Fransaí. So bhín trúr acu agus a sin bhín mhuithear. Agus bain mhuithear hanig siise ar hús as a cantar cráibh ar a bhealach amanga a drá. Agus bhí siise ag gompar cúpla ag an am a flú a 1980 agus fuair siad sa bás sa flú agus fuair an mhuithear caiiliú fásta agus scéal mentionar brónach mar ní ró siad ábhata rud a bí dheanú ach scéal ba go bhhain a chuile me sé héin ná bhí uncle de maithar Jack Valley óg sé dar bhí sé rágóí gur bante leis an seanna a ré agus ach bhí scéal aige go raibh sé sin amach na carige sé sin an chéad balla mór eile lecinnig Glencolmcille tá sé mar chuid bhariste agus chuir Jack amach na carige agus fuair sé brín iscibatha fíor iscibatha. Ní ra pub an títhe tabanne an glán hain sáastar a bíótá. Agus chuir sé mana carige agus fuair sé brín iscibatha agus thug sé sin donna daoine sa teach agus chuine sin iad bíá támadile. Agus sin bhí iscibatha acu fásta nach glynneann tú mar an faoi iscibatha rinne sé taon ach ní páidín. No, ní páidín. Agus chuidtí sin lefa fásta ach bhí sé deantas púdar ach ní bhhaid se ach an lá. Bhí sin an. Agus bhí scéal de líon ní rú ma jabata mar an ráfaí ní rú ma deag. Ach leis is a rís hasú na seantaí ní glóid fé.
Cad a háda na páistí láthair agus an man?
Well, tá sé sabúil agus brónach má ahar William chuir sé aithne ar bán trasna na hóna mar dear bhí dwabla teach aiceal badí Bridget agus fós siad san 1988 agus bhí sé sin in scríbneoir ar a seoráitiúil don dí gáil Democrat People's Press na pápa sé a líige bhí gáilsle agus déidir an uchtí seo agus bhí sé scríbh an Irish Press go mai agus bhí aide bhaig ar Father McDyer nuair a bhí sé seo sa glán sa chéici so thug sin mar a dear slí marachtaile ar livelihood do maithar. Well, ní róbhí chuise ní go tíad scáil céarna, scáil bhí na cráise. Ach bhí éideachas bhaid acu agus bhí me sé gléad fríd go leáid an stuff sin in na gorid agus bhí béile ionach mai acu ar chúise bháin ar chúise eile dhéana saim ach ba ar scáil an taon áte bhí sé acu le fálam. Rug go maithar an 1930 agus rug go bhhéir an 1930 agus Gaelic gan brisú mar a German halta seo gan brisú gan barna was that a gap bí sé líg an Gaelic sin. Fós mar bríd móhir, fós Francé, fós Japan as bí sí America tamil, bí sí Lacóni ar tífo huid an glán, Nelly Vicky Owen agdari, agus fós session ishe, agus an vanillin sin man bí me a cant for hi. Jimmy and chud is mó fós ishe farda van Jimmy Boyle, farún cantar and balla farin seo. Agus Jimmy go Newton Cunningham agus he study gone mar dúchid ag sclaviocht tro na prátaí agus the copper and the garithe agus fresh and target. 8 bunta ginger dúsas cyfynam agus chuir sé a dhéanamh go America, Marianne. Chuir Marianne go Philadelphia. Agus nuair a bhí siise ábaltas airgid a hábhail í chéin, chuir sí bhaile é go dtí clán Jimmy, or clán sa gí. So inis an dó áthín an síl tá Jimmy Boyle, tá sé marú le rinch blianta maithe, ach tá garhhac leis. Tá sé in the folatóir mór le rá Washington State, Washington, no, it's the Congress, so Congress, yeah, agus Democratic, yeah, Democrat. Agus tá dear eile lé, garhhac eile lé, agus tá sé in folatóir in Pennsylvania State, so tá bhaid and they January that way.
A short time after the Cunningham deaths, Nurse McConalogue fell victim to the virus herself and died on the 8th of December 1918 at the age of 32. This was a terrible shock to everyone who knew her, especially to her 2 children, who maybe were too young to understand the full impact of what had happened. Her immediate family were devastated also. Kate died in the upstairs bedroom of the nurse's house. She talked to her children shortly before she died. Her sister Biddy was with her also at the end. An undertaker from Derry came to Mallinmore and brought Kate back to Rathmullan, where she was laid to rest in the old graveyard of Killygarvan. St. Garvan seemed to have been ever present in Kate's life and indeed death. May and Rosine were brought to Bing, where they were reared by the Tunney family. Here we see a letter written by Biddy to her cousin Minnie in America. They started school in Caradone on the 12th of April 1919, where they made lots of new friends from neighbouring townlands. In her teenage years, May went to live in Killygarvan and later married Charlie Deeney from Inniskel and had 6 children together. Rosine never married. She spent most of her working life in Scotland, only returning when she reached retirement, and built a nice little bungalow beside the Tunney homestead in Bing. Looking back at Kate's life, what stands out for me was her resilience. The untimely death of her husband did not dampen her ambition. Deciding to train in a profession and bring up 2 children was ambitious to say the least. From her letters, she seems to have been the thread that held the rest of her siblings together. A great sense of sadness keeps coming up when we think of how much she missed in life. She didn't get to see her children grow up, or to see her grandchildren. Her nursing career had only just begun, and with her ambitious nature, she would have achieved so much more. On the positive side, Her memory is cherished by her family and many others, as we have seen from the people of Glencolmcille and Mallinmore. I would like to sincerely thank the people who helped me put this project together. In particular, Mary Worski, who provided so much information and memorabilia. Mary's brother James for his contribution at Killygarvan. The two horsemen, Martin Mullen and Patrick Friel, for giving of their time and expertise, and also some valuable advice. To Francis Carr from Mallinmore, who was so welcoming and helpful. Francis gave a beautiful contribution in both languages, which was so meaningful. To Liam Cunningham for his masterful interview, all in her native tongue, and done with little or no time to prepare. This shows to me the talent of the man. It was a pleasure to tell Kate's story, however tragic. In today's world where we can view people and places on a global scale, we can easily overlook heroes and heroines on our own doorstep. Kate's life falls into this category, and no doubt there are many more like this also. Yes, J. Maroa Hammond.